As you were making this work, how did it affect your moods, emotions, and your spirituality? What were some of the thoughts and feelings that you were having as you created this body of work?
Yeah, as I was working on the Impermanence series, I think people were concerned about my emotional and spiritual well-being as they saw what I was producing, because it's kind of scary. The work is pretty dark, and you could say it was sort of a catharsis. But really, it didn't affect me very much. I was approaching it from an artistic perspective, really enjoying the creativity of it, of the process, without getting very emotionally involved, to tell you the truth. You know, a lot of people might think that it's working on with this theme of death, and specifically my own death, would affect my moods, in that it might put me in perhaps a dark mood. But that's not the case at all. I've when I was working on this series, I was really upbeat. In fact, the creative process really inspired me and gave me a lot of energy, a lot of upbeat, positive energy, even though the subject matter is dark.
One of the things I was interested in that is my own personal knowledge that maybe other people would not be aware of is a lot of the objects and still life images that you were using were things from our parents' home and our childhood. And I'm wondering about some of the objects, the measure, the balance. What were you thinking about in relation to some of the other objects that you were putting in the pictures?
Yeah, the objects that are in the pictures are purely metaphorical. The clocks have obvious symbolism, as do, I think, the drying flowers. Those are the main things I photographed from our childhood home. There was the scale with the fruit, which I put a skull on in one pan of the scale, and the fruit in the other. The sort of the weight of life. The scale tips towards life, towards the fruit. That particular picture is called the weight of life. The images are that is the objects in the photographs. They're purely metaphorical.
I wanted to get back a little bit to the emotional journey of making this work, or the creative journey of making this work. And I think it's interesting that you deal with different emotions in an almost chronological fashion. I'm wondering if you made them in that order necessarily, or if you, as emotions arose, you dealt with them through your artwork.
Yeah, the work has a definite chronological order, from examination through rest, but I didn't create them in that order. I created them as the mood would strike me. Like, I wasn't necessarily going through radiation when I created the piece called Radiation. But later, the importance of the order became very important. not only the order of the procedures like examination, diagnosis, prognosis, CAT scan, chemocycles, radiation, etc. Because there's a pretty clear order, but also in the emotional phases as well, which are much less clearly defined because there's a lot of overlap, between fear and courage and wisdom and all of that. But that plays a pretty important part in the chronology of the work as well.
So you've made this work, which has been a journey for you. I'm wondering how you feel about the possibility of it illuminating the journey for other people, and what you imagine or would like people to take away from this work.
For me, it's very important that this work survive me, and I'm glad that it's being shown. I hope it can be shown in more places. To me, it's a bit of a legacy for me, and there's a lot that people can take away from this work, but I hope it's not anything grim. I hope it's not pessimistic. I hope that it's, even though it ends in rest, as in permanent rest, I see it as very hopeful, sort of a testament to human courage and dignity. I think I've remained well balanced throughout this process, and I hope that's seen in this work. No particular emotion dominated, whether it was fear or anger or gratitude or hope. They're pretty well balanced. I hope that that's apparent when people look at the body of work.